What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I shared a video at all, probably like almost a couple weeks, so I apologize for that. Summer gets in the way, but it's really been a while since we went over the housing market and I gave you a housing market update based on the data that I'm seeing both in the numbers as well as anecdotally. So that's what I wanted to do in this video. I wanted to go over the housing market and share with you what I'm seeing on the ground as a real estate agent here in Northern New Jersey. So in July of this year, buyers nervous about the economic conditions and the recession that we're in, as well as the interest rate spike that we've seen in the last handful of months. They are nervous, and I don't blame them. We are now officially in a recession, no matter what Joe Biden mumbles under his breath. Because of this, the home builders are scaling back and they see the writing on the wall. So what does this mean for the housing market going forward, and where do we go from here? But first, before I get started, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, my name's Jay Costa. I'm a real estate investor and agent here in Northern New Jersey. If you get value out of this video, please smash that like button down below. Also, leave a comment. I love the comment section. I love hearing what people think. Let me know if you think I'm a moron. Let me know if you agree with me. Somewhere in between, it's all good. I try to get back to as many people as possible. Really appreciate it. Now on to the video. So as of July, according to Redfin, we are now up to 16.1% of all contracts being canceled by the buyers. That is actually the highest percentage on record if you take out March and April of 2020 when the pandemic was just starting, which obviously was a crazy time everywhere, but especially in real estate. I remember going out in like April, maybe mid to late April, to show a couple properties, and when someone decided to not put an offer in on that property, I wanted to break their neck because I actually thought that I was risking my life to go show them the house. Obviously, as we've discussed in other videos, the housing market has drastically shifted and changed since about March of this year when the Federal Reserve decided to start hiking the federal funds rate in order to combat inflation. And obviously since then, everything has gotten more expensive. People's paychecks are not going nearly as far as they used to on things like groceries and gasoline bills. And the average monthly payment on a mortgage is now up over 40% from where it was this time last year, just simply because of the interest rates going up to anywhere from 5.25% to 6%, depending on when you look. So that leaves us with much less demand out there. Many less buyers out there actually looking for a home because they're simply either A, priced out, or B, afraid that the market is going to tank once they purchase a home. And the ones that are still out there and still serious, they have more negotiating power, more bargaining power on a property. You're starting to see more buyers be able to get closing costs covered by the seller, more repairs being done by the seller. But on the other side of things, sellers are still pretty stubborn as far as I could see across the country, staying at their pretty damn high list prices and ask price. That's why you're starting to see price drops significantly increase, especially in certain areas. And with inventory slowly rising across the country because of all of this, this is why you're seeing more buyers simply back out of contracts because they have more to choose from. Now, these canceled contracts are making home builders especially nervous. They see the writing on the wall that demand is drastically down, and they're starting to see their own inventory of homes to be built creep up to a level that they're not fully comfortable with. So many new home builders, especially the smaller ones, have simply decided to stop building. Just a couple days ago, they released the numbers on both housing permits as well as housing starts. So first, let's go over what each of those is. Housing permits is basically when a home builder takes the blueprints for a home or a development and submits it to the building department of the town. They go through the whole process of approving it, and they take their permit fee, of course, and then they give the permits to the home builder. So that is a housing permit being issued to the home builder. Now, a housing start is when the home builder actually takes that permit and breaks ground on that property, on that development. So building permits issued was only down about 1.3% nationwide compared to this time last year, which was about what was expected. But the shocking number is that housing starts are down 9.6% from this time last year. That is a huge decrease and way more of a decrease than what was expected. I believe they expected about something like 2%. This is the lowest level of housing starts since February of 2021. So what does that mean to me? Well, what I would say based on this data is that a lot of home builders probably already own some property, empty lots or whatever, that they even got the permits for, but they're holding off. They're holding off on starting to actually build because they don't know where the market is going. They see the demand down drastically from what it was even just 6 months ago when it seemed like an endless supply. And let's talk about supply. Obviously, supply shortages and supply costs on building a home are drastically up from this time last year. That all affects how and when a home builder is going to build said home. Now, this affects the big home builders, like the big guys like Toll Brothers and everything on a grand scale, but it also affects, maybe even more so, the small home builders that are only building 1 or 2 homes at a time. So all of these factors are leading to a lot of fear in the housing market, and rightfully so. So many buyers are just simply afraid that if they buy a house right now, the market and the price of and the value of the home that they just bought is going to go down $100,000 or $200,000. So many home buyers are simply afraid to buy right now unless absolutely necessary. Because first, they're overextending themselves not only on the still pretty close to all-time high prices that we're seeing in homes, but also the interest rates at 6% as opposed to about 3% about a year ago. Now, who knows what will happen in the future, but this is the psyche of the housing market and of the demand and the buyers in this housing market right now. And for the first time in what seems like forever, home prices are actually coming down. Now, real estate is a local business and it's also a seasonal business. So when you look at home prices, it tends to fluctuate just in the span of a year based on the season and the month that you're in. But if you look at the median sales price, we've actually been on a decline the last month or two, which is not standard for the summer usually. And I think it'll be very interesting to see where they go from here as we get closer to the fall and then the holiday season, where things tend to drop off even more so because of less demand simply out there. Now, as I said, real estate is very local and each market is going to be different. So for instance, if you look at a place like Jacksonville, Florida, almost 30% of contracts in Jacksonville, Florida are being canceled right now. Yet if you look at a lot of places around here in New York and New Jersey, you're only looking at about a 5 to 7 or 8% of contracts being canceled right now. So real estate is very, very local, but the ones that are going to be the most hit are the markets that have been the hottest the last couple of years. In places like Florida, places like Las Vegas, Nevada, Boise, Idaho, they are going to be affected the most for sure. For instance, in my area of Bergen County, New Jersey, median sales price has not really come down very much, if at all. But with price drops increasing and active listings and inventory slowly increasing, the median sales price coming down may be just around the corner. So here are my predictions going forward on the housing market. First, I think this is all going to continue into early 2023 next year, because I don't believe that interest rates on a mortgage are going to go any less than they are right now. They hit a peak of about 6.3%, and they're down to about 5.25%, I believe, or 5.3% as of the filming of this video. I don't think they're going down into the 4s anytime soon at all. So that kind of leaves us at a standstill for now. The home buyers, many of them are priced out. The ones that are still looking know they have more negotiating power. And the sellers have been pretty stubborn and still putting up their houses on the market for pretty crazy high asking prices. You're going to start to see those asking prices come down right from the get-go instead of putting it up for a high amount and then dropping, which is what you've been seeing across the country, with price drops increasing dramatically the last 2 months. Because that's what's happening. Sellers are putting their house up on the market for a pretty crazy high price. They're not getting it anymore, and then they're forced to drop their price if they actually want to sell. So going forward, real estate values are based on comparable properties. And once you start seeing these homes around your home that you're trying to sell for lower amounts, you're going to put, or a seller is going to put their house on the market right away for a lower amount. Now, obviously, what we're describing here is a drop in sales price across the country. And I think that's what we're going to see. When it's all said and done, from peak to valley, if we see across the country a 5 to 10% housing price drop, I don't think that's going to be unreasonable. I think that's actually going to be expected at this point based on the data that we're seeing. Now, does that mean should you not buy a house right now? Well, as we've said in other videos, it depends. It depends on your situation. If you can afford it, and if you're looking to buy a house, not to time the market or to flip it within 2 years, if you're buying it for your family, long-term, 7 to 10 years, and you find a house that works for you, hey, go buy a house. Because right now, you have an opportunity with much less competition out there. you have the ability to go get a property, but go buy a house for your family to live in long term, yeah, maybe the interest rate is higher than it was a year ago, of course. And maybe they'll go up in the future and you'll then be happy that you bought with the interest rate that you have. And maybe they'll go down in the future and you can refinance in the future to save on your monthly payment. So if you're long term and if you're buying just, for your family, definitely go look if you're serious and you need to buy a house. But if you don't need to buy a house, if you're just trying to time something, I would suggest you probably wait it out. Wait till the end of this year and see where we're at in the housing market and also what the economic situation in this country looks like. Because most people, housing aside, although housing is a huge part of the economy, housing aside, people are very bearish on the U.S. economy right now. We're already in a recession, as I said. The stock market has been faltering all year long now. And people are afraid that eventually it's going to get to a point where you're going to start losing jobs. And I think that's what you're seeing in a lot of the tech sector right now. A lot of the tech companies have announced that they have layoffs and they're firing people. You're seeing that affect the markets out there significantly. Places like San Francisco and places out in California and Silicon Valley. That is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Where is the housing market going? Also, what are you seeing in your own market? Because like I said, real estate is a very local industry. So what I see here in northern New Jersey is going to be different than what you see where you live. So let me know what's going on in your town, in your area, and catch you next time.